Hello, English learners, and welcome to English Pod. My name is Marco.
I'm Amira.
Amira and I are here today with another interesting and useful lesson for you English learners. Amira, why don't you explain a little bit of what this lesson is about today?
It's about calling in sick.
Oh, okay, that's useful.
Yes, definitely. It happens to everyone. Once in a while, you don't feel so well, or you feel well, but you don't want to go to work.
Right.
So you call in sick.
Okay. Let's listen to this dialogue, and I want everyone to keep their ears open and see if the boss believes this person.
Let's listen.
Hello, Daniel speaking. How may I help you?
Hi, Daniel. Julie here.
Oh, hi, Julie. How are you?
Actually, I'm feeling quite ill today.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. What's wrong?
I think I'm coming down with the flu. I have a headache, a sore throat, a runny nose, and I'm feeling slightly feverish.
I see. So you're calling in sick.
Yes, I was hoping to take the day off to recover.
Okay, then. Try and get some rest.
Marco, do you think he believed her?
No, I don't think he believed her. He didn't sound really convinced.
Yes, and Julie didn't sound really sick, huh?
Exactly. Well, we have some really good vocabulary here. Amira, why don't you begin with the first one?
The first phrase I've chosen for you is a very, very useful one. I'm feeling quite ill today.
I'm feeling quite ill today.
I'm feeling quite ill today.
All right, what does this mean exactly?
It means that she's feeling sick.
Oh, okay, that's clear. So she is sick. She's feeling sick. Okay, let's look at another really useful phrase, and this one is I'm coming down with the flu.
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 All right, and this phrase means that I am starting to get the flu or I am getting the flu.
Okay, the next phrase I have for you is calling in sick.
Calling in sick.
Calling in sick.
Calling in sick.
It means calling your boss to tell him that you can't come to work today. I personally love this phrase because it saves so much time and explanations.
Okay, perfect. So if I say this, then everyone will know that I am not coming to work today.
Yes, definitely.
Perfect. All right. And the last phrase that we're going to take a look at today is I was hoping to take the day off.
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 Right, and she says this to ask for permission because she does not want to go to work.
Okay, now, couldn't she just say, like, I can't come today?
Right, she could say, I can't come today, but that would be a little bit impolite.
Okay, so when she says, I was hoping to take the day off, it's a polite way of asking.
It's a polite way, exactly, because she is talking to her boss.
Very good. So let's listen to the dialogue one more time. The dialogue is a little different this time. Listen carefully and see if you think the boss believes her this time.
Hello, Daniel speaking. How may I help you?
Hi, Daniel. Julie here.
Oh, hi, Julie. How are you?
Actually, I'm feeling quite ill today.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. What's wrong?
I think I'm coming down with the flu. I have a headache, a sore throat, a runny nose, and I'm feeling slightly feverish.
I see. So you're calling in sick?
Yes, I was hoping to take the day off to recover.
Okay, then. Try and get some rest.
Okay, guys, we're back. And I do think he believed her this time.
Yeah, I think he was understanding when he said, okay, then try and get some rest.
Yeah, and Julie sounded pretty sick.
Yes, she did.
Yeah, it was convincing.
Well, you know what? I almost called in sick last week.
Really?
Yeah, I wasn't feeling very well, and so I almost didn't come to work.
Oh, that would have been really bad for me. I would have been stuck here without you, Marco.
Yeah, you would have had to do the podcast all by yourself.
Oh, no.
Actually, I had the same symptoms as Julie. I also had a headache, and I had a sore throat. And also, the worst thing and the thing that I hate the most is I had a runny nose.
Oh, no, that's really bad because then you have to like blow your nose all the time and then it gets red and it hurts, right?
Exactly, yeah. Luckily, I didn't have a fever, though. No fever.
Thank God.
Yeah.
So did you take some medicine and it just killed everything?
Yeah, I had a friend and he had some pills for the flu. And he just gave me a couple and I felt better in about 2 days.
Oh, great. Well, so guys, let me tell you about a very funny thing that really happens in real life in Egypt.
What story do you have for us today?
Well, it's actually not a story, it's a fact. I mean, people in Egypt, when they're sick, they never call in sick themselves. They'll have someone do that for them.
Oh, that's interesting. Why? Why do they do this?
Well, there's this weird speculation about, if you can make it to the phone, you can make it to the office.
I agree. If I were a boss, I would do the same thing.
Yeah.
Are you ready to improve your English listening and speaking skills? Have you ever struggled to understand native speakers in real-life situations? Or maybe you want to express yourself more clearly and confidently in conversations. In today's episode, we are going to help you do just that. If you're new here, we upload daily episodes to help you improve your English naturally. In this episode, you will hear real-life stories with useful vocabulary and expressions. Listening to these stories will help you understand English in everyday situations. And by repeating the phrases, you will improve your speaking skills, too. Let's start with a simple question. Have you ever had a moment when you misunderstood someone in English? Imagine ordering food at a restaurant, but the waiter doesn't understand what you're saying. Or talking to a coworker, but missing an important detail in the conversation. These situations can be frustrating, right? Let me tell you a personal story. A few years ago, my friend Daniel traveled to New York for the first time. He was excited but nervous about speaking English. On his first day, he walked into a small cafe to order breakfast. He wanted a croissant and a coffee. So he confidently said, "Can I have a croissant and a coffee, please?" But the cashier looked confused and asked, "Sorry, what was that?" Daniel repeated himself, but the cashier still didn't understand. He started feeling nervous. Then another customer stepped in and said, "He means a croissant." Suddenly, the cashier understood. This moment taught Daniel an important lesson. Sometimes pronunciation makes a big difference in understanding. He realized that even though he knew the words, hearing them in real conversations was different from learning them in a textbook. This is why listening is so important. The more you listen to real English, the more natural it becomes. And when you hear common phrases often, you will feel more confident using them yourself. Now, let's talk about another real-life situation. My cousin Emma moved to Canada for work. She spoke English well, but when she arrived, she had trouble following conversations. People spoke quickly, used slang, and sometimes even interrupted each other. One day, she had an important meeting, and her manager asked, "Can you touch base with Mike about the new project?" Emma was confused. What did touch base mean? She thought, should I physically touch something? Later she found out that touch base means to check in or to discuss something briefly. This small phrase made a big difference in her understanding. After that, she started paying attention to idioms and expressions in conversations. So here's a tip for you. When you hear a new phrase, don't just memorize the meaning. Listen to how it's used in real conversations. Try repeating it aloud and using it in your own sentences. The more you practice, the more natural it will feel. Now, let's think about your own experience. Have you ever been in a situation where you didn't understand something in English? Maybe you misheard a word, or maybe you weren't familiar with an expression. What did you do? How did you handle it? Imagine you were at a hotel and the receptionist says, "Would you like a wake-up call?" If you're not familiar with this phrase, you might think they are asking if you need to wake up in life. But actually, a wake-up call means that the hotel will call your room in the morning to wake you up. These small but important moments happen all the time in real life. That's why listening to real conversations is the best way to improve your English. Let's do a quick practice exercise. I will say a short sentence, and I want you to repeat it after me. Ready? I'd like to order a coffee, please. Now you try. Great. Now, let's try another one. Could you repeat that, please? These are simple, polite phrases that you can use in everyday situations. The more you listen and repeat, the more confident you will feel. Now, let's continue with another real-life story. A few years ago, my friend David moved to London for a new job. He was excited because it was his dream to work in an international company. He had studied English for years, but he had mostly learned from books and grammar exercises. He thought he was prepared, but when he arrived in London, he faced an unexpected challenge. Real-life conversations were much harder too. Everyone was friendly, but they spoke quickly and they used a lot of expressions that he had never seen in textbooks. At lunchtime, one of his coworkers, Jake, said, "Hey, David, let's grab a bite." David was confused. He thought, "Grab what? What does that mean?" He hesitated for a moment, then smiled and said, okay." He followed Jake to a nearby cafe, still unsure about what was happening. When they arrived, he finally understood. Grab a bite just means go and get something to eat. It was such a simple phrase, but because he had never heard it before in a real conversation, it completely confused him. That day, he realized that even though he knew a lot of English, he needed more practice listening to how people actually speak. David decided to make a plan. Every day, he started listening to English podcasts understand than he expected. On his first day at work, his manager Sarah introduced him to the team. While walking to work, at lunchtime, instead of sitting alone, he made an effort to join conversations with his coworkers. At first, it was difficult. He didn't always understand everything, and sometimes he felt nervous. But instead of staying quiet, he started asking questions like, "Sorry, what does that mean?" Or, "Can you say that again?" His coworkers were happy to explain, and little by little, he got better at understanding them. One day, he was in a meeting, and his manager said, "All right, let's wrap things up." This time, instead of feeling lost, he knew exactly what it meant. "Let's finish the meeting." He smiled to himself because just a few weeks earlier he wouldn't have understood that phrase. This is an important lesson for anyone learning English. Sometimes the words themselves are not difficult, but the way people say them in real conversations can be different from what you see in textbooks. That's why listening practice is so important. The more you listen to natural English, the more comfortable you will feel when speaking. Now let's talk about another real-life situation. Imagine you are traveling to an English-speaking country for the first time. You arrive at the airport and you need to go through immigration. The officer asks, "What's the purpose of your visit?" If you are not familiar with this phrase, you might feel nervous. What do they mean by purpose? Are they asking about my job, my reason for traveling? What should I say? But if you have practiced listening to common travel conversations, you will know that the correct answer is something simple like I'm here for tourism or I'm visiting family. A few months ago, my cousin Sophia traveled to Australia. She was confident in her English, but when she arrived at the airport, she got nervous. The immigration officer asked, "Do you have anything to declare?" She froze for a moment. The word declare sounded serious, like something legal or official. She thought, did I bring something illegal? Am I in trouble? She took a deep breath and asked, I'm sorry. Could you repeat that? The officer calmly said, are you carrying any food, alcohol, or large amounts of money? Now she understood. Declare just means to report something. She smiled and said, no, I don't have anything to declare. The officer nodded and let her pass. Later, she laughed about the situation. She realized that the problem wasn't her English. It was just that she hadn't heard this phrase in real life before. This is why listening to natural conversations is so helpful. The more you hear these phrases in context, the easier it will be to understand and respond naturally. Now, let's do a quick practice exercise. I'll say some common travel questions, and I want you to repeat after me. Where are you traveling from? Now you say it. Great. Here's another one. Do you have a return ticket? Try saying it aloud. The more you practice listening and speaking, the more confident you will feel in real situations. Now, let's talk about another important moment when listening skills make a big difference. Ordering food at a restaurant. Imagine you are in a busy cafe in London. You walk up to the counter and the barista says, "What can I get you?" If you are prepared, you can simply say, "I'd like a cappuccino, please." But what if they ask for here or to go? If you are not familiar with this phrase, you might feel confused. A friend of mine, Mark, had this exact experience. When he traveled to the US, he walked into a coffee shop and ordered a latte. The cashier asked, "For here or to go?" He hesitated. He had never heard this phrase before. He guessed that to go might mean take away, so he said to go. Luckily, he was right. But at that moment, he felt nervous because he wasn't 100% sure. After that, he started listening carefully to how people ordered food and drinks. He noticed that in the US, people often say, "Can I get it?" instead of "I would like." He also learned that "that'll be" is a common way for cashiers to tell you the total price. For example, the cashier might say that'll be $550. If you don't know this phrase, you might not realize they are telling you the price. But once you hear it a few times, it becomes natural. This is why real-life listening is so important. The more you hear these phrases, the more confident you will feel when speaking. Now let's practice. I'll say some common phrases you might hear in a cafe. Repeat after me. What can I get for you now? You say it. Great. Here's another one. That'll be $5.50. Try saying it aloud. When you listen and repeat, your brain gets used to the sounds of English and speaking becomes easier. Now, let's continue with another real-life example. Let's continue with another important area where listening and speaking skills make a big difference. Making small talk. Small talk is the kind of casual conversation you have with people in everyday situations, like when you meet someone new or when you're waiting for a bus. It's a skill that can feel difficult at first, but once you practice it, it can become one of the most valuable ways to improve your fluency in English. A few months ago, my friend Maria, who is from Spain, moved to an English-speaking city for work. She had studied English for many years, but she was nervous about speaking with strangers, especially when it came to making small talk. She thought that small talk wasn't as important as knowing grammar and vocabulary, but she quickly realized that it was a huge part of everyday life. Her first week at work was a bit stressful. At lunch, Her colleague John invited her to join him and a few others in the break room. Maria was unsure what to say. She didn't know these people very well, and she was afraid that she might say the wrong thing. When they sat down to eat, John asked, "So, how was your weekend?" Maria froze for a second. In Spain, people often talk about what they did over the weekend, but she didn't know if she should share something personal or keep it simple. She finally decided to say, "It was good. I went to the park with my family." That was a safe answer, right? But then John smiled and said, "That sounds nice. What did you do at the park?" Maria realized that this was just like asking someone about their hobbies or interests. It wasn't a deep conversation. It was just a way to connect. Over the next few days, she became more comfortable with small talk. She started asking her coworkers questions like, "Do you like the weather here?" Or "What do you like to do in your free time?" And she was surprised at how easy it became. Through these simple conversations, Maria realized something very important. Small talk isn't just about talking. It's about connecting with people. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes. And when you listen carefully, you learn useful phrases and expressions that help you speak more naturally. For example, when John asked about Maria's weekend, he didn't say, "What did you do over the weekend?" Instead, he said, "How was your weekend?" This is a very common way to ask about someone's weekend or time off. When you hear these expressions in real conversations, they stick with you, and soon you'll be able to use them yourself. Here's another tip. When it comes to small talk, often people don't expect long answers. It's more about giving a simple response and asking the other person about their experience. When you're practicing, remember to listen for these small cues. For instance, someone might say, "The weekend was great, but I wish it was longer." This shows that they're offering a bit of information, but they're also leaving space for you to share your experience, too. Maria started using this technique, and she found that it helped her speak more confidently. Instead of worrying about saying something perfect, she focused on the flow of the conversation and learning new phrases. One of the phrases that Maria picked up during her first few weeks was, "What about you?" When someone asks her how her weekend was, she learned that it's perfectly natural to respond with, "It was good, thanks." What about you? These small, everyday conversations will help you improve your listening and speaking skills, and you'll start to feel more confident in social situations. This is something that can't be learned from a textbook alone. It's about engaging with people, paying attention to how they speak, and practicing how you respond. Now, let's shift gears and talk about something else that can challenge English learners: understanding different accents. When you're learning English, you might find it hard to understand different accents or regional variations. Whether it's British, American, Australian, or even different accents within the same country, understanding accents is an important part of mastering English. Let's take a step back for a moment. I want you to think about your own journey in learning English. Have you had moments where you felt unsure or confused in a conversation? Maybe you were listening to someone speaking quickly, or you didn't understand a slang word or idiom. It happens to all of us, and it's part of the process of learning a new language. The key is not to give up. Keep practicing and keep engaging with real conversations. Every time you listen, you get a little bit better. Remember, English isn't just something you learn from books. It's something you experience through conversations, stories, and real-life situations. Whether it's making small talk with a friend, ordering food at a restaurant, or simply listening to someone tell a story, every moment is a chance to improve. By listening to real stories, you start to notice the natural rhythm of English. You learn how words flow together in sentences, how people express themselves in different situations, and how to use the right phrases at the right time. This is the kind of practice that will help you sound more natural when you speak. When I was visiting New York a couple of years ago, I got a little lost while walking around the city. I decided to stop and ask someone for directions. I approached a friendly-looking person and said, "Excuse me, can you tell me how to get to the subway?" He looked at me and said, "Yeah, just go straight ahead. Take a left at the lights, and you'll see it on your right." That was simple enough, but I was surprised at how fast he spoke. He didn't slow down to explain, and I had to listen very carefully to catch all the details. In that moment, I realized how important it is to focus not just on the words, but on how they're delivered. Native speakers often speak quickly, and they use shorthand or expressions that might not be in your textbooks. For instance, when the man said, "Take a left at the lights," he was using a common phrase to mean, "Turn left at the traffic lights." It was casual and quick, but once I understood the phrase, I realized how useful it would be to remember for future conversations. To improve your skills in asking for directions, start by learning common phrases and expressions. You'll often hear people say things like, "Go straight," "Turn left," "It's around the corner," and "It's just a few blocks away." These are all useful phrases that you'll encounter frequently. When you're practicing, listen to how native speakers use these phrases in everyday situations. By listening to podcasts, YouTube videos, or watching movies, you'll be able to hear these expressions in different contexts. After practicing asking for directions in English, try to imagine yourself in the situation. Maybe you're lost in a new city and you need to ask for help. Practicing these types of conversations in your mind or even aloud will help you prepare for when you're actually in the situation. Let's move on to another practical area that will help you with your listening and speaking, handling problems and complaints in English. This is another important part of everyday life. Whether it's at a store, in a hotel, or during an interaction with customer service, knowing how to express your problems clearly is essential. I had an experience a few months ago when I was staying in a hotel during a business trip. I checked into my room, but when I tried to use the Wi-Fi, it wasn't working. I called the front desk and said, "Excuse me, the Wi-Fi isn't working in my room. Could you help me?" The receptionist on the phone replied, "I'm sorry to hear that. Let me check and see what I can do." After a few minutes, she called me back and explained that the Wi-Fi was down in the building, but they would be fixing it soon. She was polite and apologized, which made me feel better. In this situation, I learned a few things that I want to share with you. First, when you have a problem, it's important to remain calm and explain the issue clearly. You can use phrases like, "I'm having trouble with," or "there's a problem with," to describe the situation. Second, if someone else is trying to solve the problem for you, you should listen carefully to their response. They might use phrases like, "Let me check on that for you," or "I'll have someone take care of it." These are polite ways to show that they're taking your complaint seriously. By listening to real-life situations like these, you'll be better prepared to handle problems in English. The more you practice these types of conversations, the easier it will be to stay calm and confident when something goes wrong. And remember, don't be afraid to ask for clarification if you don't understand something. You can always say, "Could you explain that again?" Or, "I didn't quite catch that. Could you repeat it?" Imagine walking into a bustling cafe on a cool London morning. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee fills the air as you approach the counter. The barista greets you with a cheerful, "What can I get you today?" For a moment, you pause. This casual phrasing might be different from the formal language you learned in textbooks. You reply confidently, "I'd like a latte, please." Then the barista adds, "That'll be $350. Would you like any pastry with that?" In that instant, You realize that real-life English is fast, friendly, and often informal. Now take a moment and ask yourself, have you ever been surprised by the casual tone in a familiar situation? How did you respond when someone used expressions that you hadn't practiced in class? I remember one day when I was visiting a small cafe in Shorterich. I had expected a polite, formal exchange, yet the friendly, informal language caught me off guard in the best way possible. This taught me that adapting to different styles is key to understanding everyday conversation. To practice, try imagining yourself in that cafe. Visualize hearing, "What can I get you?" and responding with your order. Repeat these phrases aloud until they feel natural and become a part of your active vocabulary. Let's move on to another common scenario: asking for directions in a busy city. Picture yourself in New York City, surrounded by the hum of traffic and the chatter of pedestrians. A few years back, I found myself wandering the vibrant streets of Manhattan, trying to reach a well-known museum. I approached a local and asked, "Excuse me, could you please tell me how to get to the Metropolitan Museum of Art?" The local replied, "Sure, just go straight for 2 blocks, then turn left at the big intersection, and you'll see the museum on your right." Listen carefully to this exchange. Notice the clear, concise instructions given quickly. Ask yourself, have you ever been in a situation where someone spoke too fast or used unfamiliar phrases when giving directions? How did you handle it? If you're not sure, consider practicing by repeating the directions aloud. Straight for, 2 blocks left at the intersection, museum on the right. Repetition builds your confidence in both understanding and using these everyday phrases. Now, let's explore the art of making small talk, a fundamental part of building relationships in both personal and professional settings. I recall an afternoon at a local community event in London where I met a gentleman named Alex. He started our conversation with a simple, "Lovely weather today, isn't it?" I responded, "Yes, it's a beautiful day. I love how the sunshine brightens everything." That simple exchange opened up a pleasant discussion about favorite outdoor activities, local parks, and weekend plans. Think about your own experiences. What topics do you naturally bring up when meeting someone new? Practice small talk by asking questions like, "How are you today?" or "What have you been up to lately?" The more you practice, the easier it becomes to keep a conversation flowing. Now, let's add another layer by considering professional settings. Imagine you're in a virtual meeting with colleagues from around the world. Your manager might say, "Let's circle back to that point later." At first, you might wonder what circle back means. In this context, it simply means to return to a topic later in the discussion. When you encounter unfamiliar phrases in meetings, jot them down and ask for clarification if needed. Reflect for a moment. Have you ever been confused by business, jargon, or idioms? Practice by repeating phrases like "circle back" until they become second nature. Next, consider the challenges of phone conversations. Unlike face-to-face talks, you rely solely on audio cues. I once made an important call to resolve an issue with my internet connection. The customer service representative, John, said clearly, "Can you please describe the problem you are experiencing?" I explained, "My connection keeps dropping and it's very frustrating." John replied, "I understand. Let me run a diagnostic test on your line." His calm, clear tone helped me feel at ease. Picture yourself in a similar situation and repeat phrases like, "Could you please repeat that?" or "I'm sorry, I didn't catch that." These exercises can prepare you for real-life calls where clarity is crucial. Now, let's explore a situation many of us face when traveling. Imagine arriving at an airport in an English-speaking country. The announcements over the intercom might sound like due to inclement weather, your flight will be delayed by 30 minutes. In that moment, you might feel anxious if you're not familiar with such phrasing. Later, when you ask a staff member, "Could you tell me what the delay is about?" They explain the delay is because of bad weather conditions. Consider practicing these scenarios at home. Repeat key phrases such as flight delayed and inclement weather until you feel comfortable using them. Another everyday conversation involves discussing hobbies and interests. Picture a quiet evening when you meet someone at a local event. They ask, "What do you enjoy doing in your free time?" You might reply, "I love reading, hiking, and trying out new recipes." This kind of conversation is a perfect opportunity to learn descriptive adjectives and expand your vocabulary. Think about your favorite hobby. What words would you use to describe it? Practicing these questions and answers builds not only your vocabulary, but also your confidence in sharing personal experiences. Let's engage in an interactive exercise right now. Repeat after me. How are you today? What have you been up to lately? The weather is really nice, isn't it? I'd love to hear more about that. Take your time with each sentence. Practice them until they roll off your tongue effortlessly. This kind of repetition builds muscle memory for natural conversation. Switching gears, let's delve into conversations at work, specifically handling meetings and presentations. I remember a meeting where our team leaders said, "We need to finalize the project timeline by Friday." A colleague named Jessica then asked, "Can everyone please confirm their availability for a meeting on Thursday?" You might respond with, "I'm available on Thursday, and I'll send a calendar invite shortly." Reflect on this dialogue. Notice how clear, concise language is used to coordinate plans. If you work in a professional environment, practicing such exchanges can prepare you for real-life scenarios where accuracy and clarity are essential. Another memorable experience was during a business conference call. The host said, "Let's wrap up the discussion and summarize our key points." At that moment, I repeated the sentence in my head to make sure I understood. After the call, I reviewed the phrases wrap up, summarize, and key points. These are common in professional settings. Ask yourself, how many times have you encountered these expressions in meetings? Now is a great time to practice them. Say them aloud until they become part of your working vocabulary. Let's consider a more challenging scenario. Interacting with service providers when something goes wrong. Imagine you've booked a hotel room and find that the Wi-Fi isn't working. You call the front desk and say, "Excuse me, the Wi-Fi in my room isn't working. Could you please help me?" The receptionist responds, "I'm sorry for the inconvenience. Let me check on that for you." This exchange uses straightforward language, but it's crucial to speak clearly and listen carefully. Think about how you would handle a similar situation. Practice these key phrases and consider recording yourself to see where you might improve. Now, picture yourself in a local market in Australia. A vendor enthusiastically shouts, "This is a ripper deal." At first, you might wonder what ripper means. Later, you learn that it is Australian slang for excellent or fantastic. This is a prime example of how listening to real-life conversations teaches you regional vocabulary and idioms that you might not find in a textbook. Reflect on any slang or idiomatic expressions you've heard recently. Write them down and try using them in your own sentences. Over time, these expressions will become a natural part of your speech. Another engaging scenario involves social gatherings with family and friends. Imagine sitting around a dinner table where everyone is sharing stories about their day. One relative asks, "What was the best part of your day?" You respond, "I had a wonderful conversation with a new friend at the cafe." This warm, informal exchange is common in family settings. Think about the simple yet powerful words you use during these conversations. Words like wonderful, enjoyable, and delightful. Practicing these expressions in a relaxed setting builds your confidence and reinforces your natural speaking style. Now, let's talk about the role of digital communication in modern English practice. Email, instant messaging, and video calls have become part of our daily lives. For example, when writing an email for work, you might start with, "Dear Mr. Smith, I hope this email finds you well," and close with, "Sincerely, Natasha." On the other hand, when texting a friend, you might simply write, "Hey, are we still on for dinner tonight?" Notice how the language shifts depending on the medium. Consider your own experiences with digital communication. Which style do you find most challenging? Practice both formal and informal writing to build a balanced skill set. Let's move on to a scenario involving cultural events. Imagine attending a local art exhibition where a curator explains a painting by saying, "This artwork reflects the artist's inner turmoil during a time of great change." You ask, what inspired this style? The curator replies, "The use of bold colors and dynamic brush strokes represents the conflict between tradition and modernity." This conversation not only introduces you to artistic vocabulary, but also encourages you to express abstract ideas. Think about how you would describe a piece of art or a cultural event. Practicing such descriptive language can enrich your vocabulary and make your conversations more engaging. Another practical scenario is participating in academic discussions. Picture yourself in a university lecture where the professor states, "Today we will explore the impact of global warming on urban development." After the lecture, you ask, "Could you please elaborate on the strategies cities are using to combat climate change?" This type of dialogue requires both active listening and thoughtful questioning. Consider how you might summarize what you've learned in your own words. This practice reinforces your understanding and prepares you for future academic conversations. In addition to structured scenarios, spontaneous conversations are an important part of real-life communication. Imagine you're at a community park and you overhear a group discussing the latest local news. One person remarks, "The new park renovations have really transformed this area." You might join in by saying, "I agree. The improvements are fantastic. Have you noticed the new playground features?" These unscripted interactions offer a chance to practice impromptu speaking and active listening. Ask yourself, when was the last time you joined a spontaneous conversation? What strategies can you use to smoothly enter such discussions? Now let's explore a scenario that many of us face online: participating in discussion forums and chat rooms. In these digital spaces, language is often informal, filled with abbreviations and emoticons. You might see a post like, "Has anyone tried the new cafe downtown? It's lit." Even if the language is casual, it still provides insights into current slang and conversational style. Spend some time browsing online groups or forums in English. Observe the way people interact and try to incorporate some of these expressions into your own spoken or written communication. Consider also the challenge of handling disagreements or misunderstandings in conversation. Even with clear language, miscommunications can occur. I recall a conversation with a friend where our opinions on a current event differed. Instead of letting the discussion become tense, we said, "I see your point, but I have a different perspective. Can we clarify our thoughts further?" Using phrases like these helps keep the conversation respectful and constructive. Reflect on any disagreements you've experienced. What language could have helped smooth the situation? Practice using such phrases in role, playing exercises with a friend, or recording yourself until they feel, let's now shift to another rich source of language practice. Storytelling. Telling your own story not only improves your speaking skills, but also makes your conversation more engaging. Imagine recounting a memorable day when everything went unexpectedly. Start with one day, I found myself lost in a busy city, and that experience taught me the value of patience and resourcefulness. As you narrate, include vivid details, describe the sounds, the sights, and even your emotions. Storytelling helps you organize your thoughts and express yourself in a structured manner. Think about a recent experience and try to narrate it in English. This exercise will boost both your vocabulary and your confidence in speaking. Interactive exercises are an essential part of this journey. I invite you now to repeat the following sentences with me, paying close attention to the natural rhythm and emphasis. I appreciate your help. Could you please repeat that? I'm sorry I didn't catch that. That sounds interesting. I would love to join you. Repeat each sentence several times until it feels comfortable and natural. These exercises are designed to build your muscle memory for common conversational phrases. Now, imagine yourself at a live music concert. The announcer's voice, full of energy, fills the venue as they say, "Ladies and gentlemen, get ready for an unforgettable performance by tonight's headliner." Such vibrant expressions and high-energy announcements require you to match the speaker's enthusiasm. Visualize yourself in that setting. What would you say if you wanted to complement the performance? Perhaps the energy on stage is electrifying. Practicing such dynamic language can help you adjust your tone and pace to suit different emotional contexts. Next, picture yourself in a quiet bookstore. You approach a clerk and ask, "Could you recommend a good mystery novel?" The clerk smiles and replies, "Certainly. This bestseller has a captivating plot and intriguing characters." This simple interaction introduces descriptive adjectives and polite inquiries that are common in everyday conversations. How would you describe your favorite book or genre? Spend a few moments thinking about this and practice forming sentences that describe your interests in detail. Let's turn our attention now to public services. Imagine you're at a government office applying for a new passport. The clerk greets you with, "Good morning. How may I assist you today?" You reply, "I need to renew my passport, please." The conversation continues with precise questions and answers such as, "Could you please provide your current passport number? And do you have all the required documents?" These formal exchanges require you to be both clear and concise. Practice such dialogues with a friend or even role-play them in front of a mirror. Notice how using polite expressions like please and thank you makes the conversation smoother and more effective. Another scenario involves visiting a healthcare facility. Imagine sitting in a doctor's office where the physician asks, "How have you been feeling recently?" You might answer, "I have been experiencing occasional headaches and a bit of fatigue." The doctor then follows up with, "Can you describe the nature of your headaches?" Such conversations demand clear communication about your symptoms. Practice describing common health issues in simple, direct language. Repeating phrases like "I feel unwell" or "the pain is moderate" and sometimes sharp will prepare you for real-life medical discussions. Digital communication also plays a crucial role in modern English. Consider video calls where you see not only the speaker's words, but also their facial expressions and gestures. In a recent video meeting, a colleague said, "Can everyone see my screen?" and quickly followed up with, "Please let me know if you have any questions." Video calls require a blend of clear speaking and active listening. Practice these interactions by joining online webinars or virtual meetups. The more you expose yourself to different digital communication styles, the more natural they will become. Now let's explore how discussing current events can enrich your language skills. Imagine listening to a news report that states, "Local communities are coming together to address recent flooding." Such statements are filled with formal language and important vocabulary. After listening, try summarizing the news in your own words. The report discussed how neighborhoods are uniting to deal with severe floods. This exercise helps you process information, retain new vocabulary, and practice summarizing, a key skill in both listening and speaking. Another engaging scenario is participating in group discussions or debates. Picture yourself at a community forum where the topic is the impact of social media on daily life. A participant might begin, "I believe social media has revolutionized the way we communicate, but it also presents challenges such as privacy concerns." You might respond with, "I agree that social media has its benefits, but I'm curious about its effects on face-to-face interactions." Engaging in debates not only exposes you to different viewpoints, but also teaches you how to articulate your opinions clearly. Reflect on any group discussion you've been part of. What phrases did you use to express agreement or to politely disagree? Practice these phrases until you feel they become an integral part of your conversational toolkit. Next, let's consider the practicalities of everyday shopping. Imagine entering a department store and needing assistance finding an item. You might approach a sales associate and ask, "Excuse me, could you help me locate the electronics section?" The associate might reply, "Yes, it's on the second floor near the home appliances area." Such interactions, though brief, are essential in daily life. They emphasize the use of polite inquiries, clear directions, and simple language. Visualize yourself in this scenario and practice the key phrases. How would you modify your request if you needed additional information such as, "Could you please show me where that is?" Repeating these exchanges can make you more comfortable. In real-life shopping situations, let's also look at scenarios where you might need to handle unexpected challenges. Imagine you're out with friends and suddenly the weather changes. You might hear someone say, "It looks like we're in for a downpour. Let's find shelter." In such moments, clear and calm communication is essential. You might add, "I'll grab my umbrella," or ask, "Does anyone know where we can take cover?" These spontaneous conversations require you to be quick on your feet. Reflect on any unexpected situations you've encountered. How did you communicate in the moment? Practice these scenarios with a friend so that when the time comes, you feel ready to respond confidently. Consider next a scenario involving a friendly debate on a lighthearted topic, such as discussing favorite cuisines. Imagine sitting at a dinner party where someone remarks, "Italian food is the best because of its rich flavors and variety." You might respond, "I love Italian food, too, but I'm also fond of the spicy kick of Thai cuisine." This type of dialogue helps you practice comparing ideas and expressing preferences. Notice the language used. Words like rich, variety, spicy, and fond add color to your conversation. Ask yourself, which adjectives do you commonly use when describing food or other interests? Practice crafting sentences that incorporate these descriptive words to enhance your communication. Let's now transition to scenarios that involve nonverbal cues and body language. Even though our focus is on listening and speaking, nonverbal elements play a key role. Picture a conversation where a friend is explaining an exciting news story. Even if you cannot see them during a phone call, imagine how their tone of voice conveys excitement. Their laughter the slight pause before a punchline, and the change in pitch all signal their emotions. While practicing on your own, try to incorporate these elements. Smile as you speak and notice how your tone changes even without a visual. Cue these subtleties make your speech more engaging and natural. We have now reached a point where each scenario builds upon the previous one, enriching your understanding of real-life English. As you continue your practice, remember that every conversation is a stepping stone on your journey toward fluency. The everyday interactions we've discussed, from ordering food and asking for directions, to engaging in professional meetings, participating in cultural events, and even handling unexpected situations, each offer valuable opportunities to practice and improve your listening and speaking skills. Imagine your future self confidently navigating any situation, whether you're conversing with a stranger in a cafe or leading a meeting at work. Visualize the progress you will make by immersing yourself in these varied scenarios, practicing key phrases, and learning from every interaction. The more you expose yourself to natural, authentic English, the more intuitive your responses will become. Let's now explore even more nuanced interactions and advanced conversational techniques. Picture a lively dinner party hosted by a close friend. The host welcomes everyone by saying, "I'm thrilled that you all could join me tonight. Let's raise a toast to friendship and new beginnings." Conversations buzz around the table. Guests share stories about their day, debate current events, and reminisce about old times. In one corner, someone remarks, "This meal is absolutely delicious, a real feast for the senses." In another, a discussion unfolds about travel experiences and future plans. Notice the shift in language from casual greetings to more expressive, detailed narratives. How would you describe such an experience in your own words? Practice forming sentences that capture not only the facts, but also the emotions of the moment. Now consider another setting, a professional workshop where participants share innovative ideas. The facilitator starts with, "We are here to collaborate on creative solutions." One participant explains, "My idea is to develop an app that connects community members with local events." Following the presentation, the facilitator asks, "Can anyone offer feedback or suggest improvements?" This exchange encourages you to practice offering constructive criticism and expressing your opinions politely. Think about a project or idea you're passionate about. How would you explain it in a way that is both clear and engaging? Role play this conversation, focusing on clarity, organization, and the natural flow of ideas. We can also delve into the art of negotiating, an essential skill in both personal and professional life. Imagine you're at a market and wish to negotiate the price of a souvenir. The vendor says, "This item is priced at $20. You might reply, "Could you do $15? The vendor might counter, "How about $18? Engaging in such negotiations teaches you to use polite language while expressing your needs. Practice using phrases like, "Would you consider?" or "Is there any possibility of a discount?" Such exercises not only build your vocabulary, but also prepare you for real-life bargaining situations. Next, envision a scenario in which you participate in a creative brainstorming session with colleagues. The atmosphere is dynamic and ideas flow freely. A colleague suggests, "What if we try a new marketing strategy focused on social media influencers?" You add, "That's an interesting idea. Could you elaborate on how we might implement it?" The discussion evolves with each participant building on the previous idea. In these situations, it is vital to listen actively, ask clarifying questions, and summarize key points. Reflect on how you might contribute to such discussions. What phrases would you use to express agreement, request further details, or offer a new perspective? Practice these conversational tools until they become second nature. Imagine, too, the challenge of speaking with confidence during unexpected interviews or impromptu presentations. Perhaps you're at a networking event and someone unexpectedly asks, "Can you tell me about your work?" You might respond with a brief, confident summary. "I work in digital marketing, helping businesses connect with their audiences through innovative online strategies." This type of spontaneous speaking requires you to organize your thoughts quickly and express them clearly. Practice by preparing a few short introductions about yourself and your work. Repeat them until they sound natural and relaxed. We've covered scenarios from formal meetings and technical support calls to casual dinners and lively debates. Each example emphasizes the importance of active listening, thoughtful questioning, and clear expression. As you move forward, incorporate these techniques into your daily interactions. Whether you're speaking one-on-one or in a group, every conversation is an opportunity to refine your skills. Now, consider integrating multimedia into your practice. Audiobooks, radio shows, and podcasts offer a wealth of authentic language exposure. I remember listening to a popular British audiobook narrated by an actor with clear, crisp pronunciation. I paused frequently to repeat sentences and mimic the intonation. Such shadowing exercises can dramatically improve your accent, rhythm, and overall fluency. Choose a short audio clip from a source you enjoy and practice shadowing it. Notice the subtle inflections and the natural pauses the speaker uses. Over time, you will find that your ability to understand and replicate these patterns will enhance your overall speaking proficiency. In addition to shadowing, consider engaging with language learning apps that offer pronunciation and listening exercises. Many apps feature interactive lessons where you can record your voice, receive feedback, and compare your pronunciation with native speakers. This kind of immediate feedback is invaluable for improvement. Ask yourself which app or resource has helped you the most so far. If you haven't tried one yet, explore a few and see which fits your learning style best. We have now covered numerous scenarios from everyday errands and social gatherings to professional environments and cultural events. Each situation is designed to immerse you in real-life English and build your confidence in listening and speaking. As you practice these exercises, remember that improvement comes gradually. Celebrate each small success and view mistakes as opportunities for learning rather than setbacks. Now, let's move on to exploring even more nuanced interactions and advanced techniques that build on everything we've discussed so far. Imagine engaging in a lively debate about current events with a diverse group of friends. One person might say, "Social media has revolutionized communication, but it has also created challenges in maintaining genuine relationships." You could respond with, "I see your point, and I wonder how we can balance technological advancements with personal connection. What do you think are some practical solutions?" This exchange requires you to listen carefully, process multiple viewpoints, and articulate your thoughts clearly. Practice summarizing what others say, and then building on that with your own insights. This active engagement is a powerful way to improve both your listening and speaking skills. Think about how you can apply these techniques in your daily routine. Perhaps you can start a conversation journal where you write down interesting phrases, idioms, or new vocabulary you hear during the day. Reflect on conversations you had, what worked well, and what could you improve next time. This reflective practice turns everyday interactions into valuable learning experiences. Consider also exploring role-playing exercises with a language partner or even by yourself in front of a mirror. Imagine various scenarios: a job interview, a customer complaint, a casual chat with a neighbor, and act them out. This role playing not only reinforces the vocabulary and expressions you've learned, but also helps you develop a natural, confident speaking style. Challenge yourself by switching roles. One moment you're the speaker, the next you're the listener. How does your language change in each role? This exercise will help you become more adaptable and aware of the nuances of conversation. Furthermore, delve into discussions about abstract topics such as dreams, ambitions, or even philosophical questions. For instance, you might say, "What do you believe is the most important quality for success?" Such open-ended questions invite detailed responses and require you to think critically in English. They also provide a platform for you to express your opinions and learn new vocabulary and context. Practice forming your thoughts on these topics and sharing them in a clear, concise manner. Over time, you'll find that your ability to discuss complex subjects improves dramatically. As you continue your journey, it's important to vary your sources of input. Listen to podcasts from different regions, watch interviews with speakers who have distinct accents, and read aloud from various genres, be it fiction, nonfiction, or even poetry. Each medium offers its own set of challenges and rewards, enriching your overall understanding of the language. Ask yourself, which source of English do you enjoy the most, and how can you incorporate it into your daily practice? Balancing different types of content will ensure you're prepared for any situation, whether formal or informal. Imagine a scenario where you attend a live workshop at a community center. The facilitator welcomes everyone. "Good morning, everyone. I'm excited to dive into today's creative session." As the workshop progresses, you participate in group activities, share your ideas, and listen to others with genuine interest. You might say, "I found that exercise very inspiring. It really opened my mind to new possibilities." Reflect on how these structured yet creative environments force you to adapt your language in real time using both prepared phrases and spontaneous responses. How can you seek out more of these opportunities? Another engaging context is interacting with people in informal digital spaces. Consider joining an online chat room or a discussion board dedicated to topics that interest you. Whether it's a forum about travel, cooking, or technology, these platforms allow you to see natural written English in action. They also offer a less intimidating environment to practice your language skills. Read through discussions, note down interesting phrases, and even contribute your own thoughts. Ask yourself, what have you learned from online conversations that you might not encounter in formal settings? Embrace the diversity of language and use it as a tool to enhance your spoken English later. We have now journeyed through numerous scenarios and exercises designed to immerse you in real-life English. Each experience, from ordering coffee and negotiating prices to debating current events and storytelling, builds your ability to understand and respond naturally. Remember, every conversation you engage in is an opportunity to learn, and every mistake is a stepping stone to improvement. Keep challenging yourself, keep practicing, and most importantly, keep enjoying the process of learning. So, imagine you're stepping into the world of English conversation. You might be feeling a little nervous or unsure of how to express yourself in a new language, but that's perfectly normal. Every time you try, you're improving your skills and getting better at understanding how English works. When it comes to speaking English confidently, it's not about being perfect. It's about being clear and feeling comfortable while you're communicating. Let's go ahead and look at how you can start by practicing small, everyday phrases. That will help you build up your confidence. These are things that you can use in almost any situation, whether you're at the store, meeting a new person, or just talking with friends. For example, when you're introducing yourself to someone, you can say, "Hi, my name is your name. Nice to meet you." This simple sentence might seem easy, but it's a great way to start practicing your pronunciation, tone, and timing. Another great sentence to know is, "How are you today?" It's a friendly, welcoming way to start a conversation. When people ask you how you're doing, just respond with something simple like, "I'm doing well, thank you," or "I'm good. How about you?" This is an easy way to keep the conversation going and show that you're ready to talk. Next, let's talk about how to express your thoughts clearly. You don't have to use long or complicated sentences to be understood. In fact, sometimes simple sentences are the most effective. For example, if someone asked you what you did today, you could say, "I went to the park," or "I worked on a project." Keeping things clear and to the point helps your listener understand you better and also makes you feel more comfortable as you speak. One of the challenges when learning a language is understanding how to react in different situations. Sometimes it can be tricky to know what to say next in a conversation, especially if the topic changes quickly. The key here is to listen closely to what the other person is saying. If they ask you a question, try to respond in a way that shows you're interested. You can say things like, "That sounds interesting," or "I never thought of it that way." These simple phrases show that you're actively listening, and they help you build a stronger connection with the other person. If you're not sure how to respond, don't worry. It's okay to take a moment to think before you speak. A good way to give yourself some time to think is by saying, "Let me think about that for a second." This phrase buys you a little time to gather your thoughts and gives you the confidence to respond more thoughtfully. When it comes to speaking English in more formal settings like a job interview or a meeting, you might want to use slightly different phrases, but the idea is the same. Be clear, concise, and confident. For example, instead of saying, "I like this idea," you could say, "I believe this is a good approach." This makes your statement sound a little more formal, but it still communicates the same thing. Remember, the key to speaking confidently is to practice regularly. You don't have to wait for a special occasion to practice your English. You can practice every day, even if it's just for a few minutes. For example, you could practice your English while you're doing everyday tasks like shopping or cooking. If you're at the grocery store, try to read the labels on the products in English or practice saying the names of things you're buying. You can also practice English with your friends or family by talking to them about your day or asking them about their plans. One of the best ways to practice speaking English is by using apps or language exchange programs. These can help you practice with other learners or even native speakers. If you're not sure where to start, you can look for online communities where people help each other practice speaking English. There are lots of people. Another great tip is to listen to English podcasts, watch TV shows, or read books in English. When you listen to English being spoken, you'll start to hear common phrases and expressions that you can use in your own conversations. Try to repeat the phrases you hear and practice saying them aloud. This will help you get used to the rhythm and flow of the language. Don't forget to celebrate your progress. Every time you have a conversation in English, it's a step forward. Even if you make mistakes, that's okay. The most important thing is that you're learning and improving. The more you practice, the easier it will get. And soon enough, you'll be speaking English more naturally and confidently than ever before. Another important part of building confidence in speaking English is finding topics that you're passionate about. If you're excited about a subject, it will be easier for you to speak about it. For example, if you love sports, you can practice talking about your favorite teams or players in English. If you enjoy cooking, you can practice describing recipes or talking about your favorite dishes. When you talk about things you enjoy, you'll feel more confident and motivated to keep learning. But what if you don't feel like you have much to talk about? That's okay too. You don't always have to have a big story or an interesting topic to share. Sometimes it's just about having a casual conversation. You can start with simple questions like, "What did you do today?" or "Do you like this movie?" Small talk is a great way to practice speaking English and to build your confidence over time. Lastly, always keep in mind that building confidence in speaking English is a journey, not a race. It takes time and practice, and there will be ups and downs along the way. But as long as you keep pushing forward, you'll keep improving. So, don't be afraid to make mistakes, and don't be afraid to speak up. Every conversation is an opportunity to practice, and each one will bring you closer to your goal of speaking English confidently and fluently. Let's continue. It's great that you're ready to dive deeper into improving your English skills. Let's build on everything we've covered so far, focusing more on everyday English and adding even more real-life examples to help you get the hang of speaking confidently in various situations. Remember, English isn't just about knowing the words. It's about how you use them, when you use them, and how comfortable you are doing so. The more real-life scenarios you practice, the more you'll feel like an English speaker. Let's start with something you probably do every day, chatting with your friends or family. These are great opportunities to practice speaking in a relaxed, natural way. For example, maybe you're having lunch with a friend. You could say, "This food is delicious. How did you make it?" Or, "I love the taste of this dish. Do you know where I can find the recipe?" By starting with something simple like that, you're practicing how to start and continue a conversation. The more you practice asking and answering questions, the more comfortable you'll feel doing it. Now, let's take a look at how you can make small talk in different places. For example, at the grocery store, you might be standing in line and you could say to the person behind you, "It looks like it's going to rain today. Do you think it will? Or these fruits look so fresh. Have you tried them?" You're not just practicing vocabulary. You're also practicing how to make observations and ask questions that can start a conversation. And don't forget, small talk is a great way to practice speaking English without feeling too much pressure. You can even practice your English when you're out running errands. Let's say you're at the post office. You might need to ask, "Can you help me? I need to send this package overseas. What do I need to do?" This sentence helps you practice both asking for help and talking about a common activity, sending mail. Don't worry about making mistakes. What matters most is that you're putting yourself in situations where you can practice speaking English naturally and without hesitation. But it's not just about talking with strangers or in public places. Sometimes you'll want to have deeper conversations with friends and family. When you're discussing something personal or meaningful, it's important to know how to express yourself clearly. For example, you might want to tell a friend about something exciting that happened to you. You could say, "I had an amazing weekend. I went to a concert with some friends, and the band was incredible." Have you ever been to a concert like that? Here, you're not just sharing an experience. You're also giving your friend an opportunity to share their thoughts and stories. Now, let's think about how you can practice English when you're alone. Many people struggle with this, but practicing speaking by yourself can actually be really helpful. You can read aloud from books or watch a TV show in English and try to repeat what the characters say. I know it might feel strange at first, but over time it can improve your pronunciation, rhythm, and overall fluency. Another thing you can do is talk about your day in English. For example, today I woke up early, had breakfast, and then went to work. After work, I met a friend for coffee. It was a busy day, but a good one. This is a simple way to practice forming sentences and using vocabulary in a meaningful way. As you start to gain more confidence in speaking, you might want to have conversations about more specific topics. This could be anything from sports, movies, hobbies, or current events. The goal is to expand your vocabulary and learn how to express yourself on a variety of topics. If you're talking about sports, you might say, I'm a huge fan of soccer. My favorite team is team name, and I love watching their games. Do you like soccer too? Or if you're talking about movies, you could ask, have you seen any good movies recently? I just watched movie name and thought it was amazing. One of the most important things to remember when practicing English is that it's not about using the most complicated words or phrases. It's about communicating your ideas clearly and effectively. So, don't be afraid to use simple sentences, especially when you're just starting out. For instance, I'm learning English, or I like this song might seem basic, but they're perfect examples of how to express your thoughts simply and clearly. As you grow more comfortable, you can start adding more details like, I've been learning English for 6 months now, and I'm getting better at it every day. You also have to remember that every conversation is an opportunity to learn. If you make a mistake, that's fine. It's a part of the learning process. For example, let's say you were at the store and you said, how much is this? But the cashier responded with, it's $5. You might think to yourself, oh, I should have said, how much does this cost? But don't worry. Mistakes like this are natural, and they give you the chance to learn and improve. The more you practice, the more you'll start to notice how native speakers express themselves. The goal is not perfection, it's progress. Have you ever had an embarrassing moment in English? Maybe you said something wrong, or you couldn't think of the right word at the right time. That's okay. It happens to everyone, even fluent speakers. For example, I remember once when I was learning English, I tried to order food at a restaurant and accidentally said, I would like a coffee with a spoon, instead of, I would like a spoon with my coffee. The waiter smiled and corrected me, but it was a funny moment. It's those little things that teach you the most and help you remember the right phrases next time. The key is not to let these moments discourage you, but rather to laugh at them and learn from them. Now, let's look at how you can improve your listening skills as well. One of the best ways to improve your listening is to listen to English every day. This could mean watching movies or TV shows, listening to podcasts, or even just talking to someone in English. You can start by watching shows with subtitles to help you connect the spoken word with the written word. As you get better, try watching without subtitles and see how much you can understand. Over time, your listening skills will improve and you'll be able to follow conversations more easily. When you're listening to English, try to focus not just on the words, but also on the rhythm and tone. Native speakers don't always speak slowly and clearly like you might hear in a classroom. Instead, they use contractions, slang, and sometimes speak really quickly. It can be tough at first, but as you continue practicing, you'll get better at understanding these natural speech patterns. For example, you might hear a native speaker say, "What are you doing tonight?" instead of, "What are you doing tonight?" This is a common contraction, and once you get used to it, it will make listening to English much easier. One great way to practice is by listening to conversations between friends or family. For example, if you're watching a show and two characters are having a conversation, pay attention to how they respond to each other. Notice the questions they ask and how they show interest in each other's answers. You can even pause the video and repeat what they say to improve your pronunciation and sentence structure. Additionally, listening to podcasts like this one is a fantastic way to practice. In fact, By listening to real-life conversations between people, you'll hear natural pauses, tone changes, and different ways to phrase things. Over time, this will help you become a more confident speaker and listener. So whether it's casual chat or more serious discussions, you'll learn how to adapt to different types of conversations in English. Let's continue and dive deeper into how we can make your English journey even more practical and relatable. Starting with how you can make your listening and speaking even stronger by using real-life situations and personal examples. The key to mastering a language is immersing yourself in it as much as possible, especially by engaging in conversations that feel natural and connected to your everyday life. When you listen to people talk in English, whether it's in movies, podcasts, or real conversations, you start to pick up on things like how they structure their sentences, how they express their feelings, or how they make their points clear. This is something that's hard to learn from a textbook because it's all about the rhythm, the flow, and the natural expression of emotions. Think about it. When you're talking with your friends, you don't necessarily follow a strict grammar rule. Instead, you speak from the heart and you adapt based on the situation. Let me share a personal example with you. One time I was traveling in a foreign country and I was trying to order food at a local restaurant. The waiter didn't speak English very well, and I didn't speak the local language. So it was a bit tricky. But we communicated using gestures, pointing to items on the menu and asking questions like, "Is this spicy?" Or "Can I have it without sauce?" Even though we didn't speak the same language fluently, the experience taught me how important it is to find creative ways to communicate. In the same way, when you're speaking English, it's not about being perfect. It's about making yourself understood and learning to adapt to the situation. This kind of experience is very useful when it comes to improving your speaking and listening skills. In real-life conversations, you're not going to get the chance to think about every word you say. Instead, you need to practice speaking naturally, even when you make mistakes. It's a great way to build confidence in your English skills. Think about all the little things you say every day, like when you're talking to your friends or coworkers. For example, when you're talking about a recent event, you might say, "I went to a concert last weekend. It was amazing. Have you ever been to one?" This simple sentence helps you practice speaking in the past tense while telling a story that others can relate to. The beauty of using these real-life experiences is that they teach you how to keep the conversation going. It's not enough to just speak in complete sentences. You also need to practice making the conversation flow. Let's take a moment to think about how a conversation would go between two friends who are talking about their day. One might say, "I had such a busy day today." And the other might ask, "What did you do?" This is an excellent way to practice asking questions and continuing the conversation. You're not just focusing on words. You're focusing on the rhythm of the conversation, how one person's response leads to the other person's next sentence. It's a skill that takes time to develop, but it's worth every bit of effort. When you listen to conversations like this, it's important to focus on the little details, like how people stress certain words, how they use pauses, or even how they express feelings. For example, when someone says, "I can't believe it," they may be expressing surprise or disbelief. Understanding the tone and emotion behind the words helps you to better understand what the speaker is trying to convey. So, next time you're listening to a conversation, pay close attention to how people speak, not just the words they say. Let me give you another example of how this works. A friend of mine was talking about her experience of moving to a new city, and she said it was overwhelming at first. Everything was new, new people, new places, new routine. In this case, She was using the word overwhelming to describe how she felt about the situation. Notice how she uses the word new repeatedly to emphasize how everything was unfamiliar. This type of speech is very common in everyday conversations. And by listening to how people express their feelings and experiences, you'll be able to practice expressing yourself in similar ways. And you don't have to look far for examples. Think about the conversations you hear every day. Whether you're listening to a conversation at the coffee shop, on the bus, or while watching TV shows or movies, each of these situations offers a unique opportunity to improve your listening skills. For instance, if you're watching a TV show, you can focus on how people react in different situations. How do they express surprise, frustration, or happiness? This type of emotional expression is just as important as knowing the vocabulary because it helps you understand the context in which certain words are used. When I was learning English, I watched a lot of sitcoms to get used to how native speakers express themselves in casual, everyday situations. For example, in the show Friends, the characters often say things like, "Could you be any more dramatic?" or "It's not that big of a deal." These phrases might sound casual or even a bit funny, but they're used all the time in real conversations. By watching how they are used in context, I was able to pick up on the tone and rhythm that native speakers use when they talk informally. One of the biggest challenges for English learners is getting used to the speed at which native speakers talk. They speak much faster than you might expect, and sometimes it's hard to catch every word. But this is where real-life experiences can be incredibly useful. The more you practice listening to natural conversations, the better you'll get at understanding them. And it's okay if you don't catch every word at first. That's completely normal. The more you expose yourself to this type of listening, the more you'll start to understand the flow of the conversation. Let's not forget about speaking practice as well. One of the best ways to improve your speaking is by mimicking real-life conversations. For example, after you've listened to a podcast or watched a video, try to repeat some of the sentences you heard. Focus on the pronunciation, the rhythm, and the tone. You can even practice speaking out loud in front of a mirror or record yourself. Listening to your own voice will help you identify areas for improvement and allow you to see how far you've come. It's like learning to play an instrument. The more you practice, the better you get. Another important aspect of real-life English is learning the different levels of formality. For instance, when you're at work, you might say, "Could you please send me the report by the end of the day?" But when you're talking to a friend, you might say, "Hey, can you send me that report by today?" In both situations, you're asking for something, but the way you say it changes depending on the context. By practicing different levels of formality, you'll learn how to communicate effectively in both professional and casual situations. In the workplace, there are certain phrases that are used all the time. For instance, if you're working in an office, you might need to send an email asking for clarification on something. You could say, "I just wanted to clarify what you meant in the meeting earlier. Could you please explain it again?" In this case, you're politely asking for more information. This is a great example of how to practice using formal English in a professional context. On the other hand, if you're chatting with a coworker in the break room, you might say, "Hey, I didn't get what you meant earlier. Can you explain it to me?" This is less formal, but still clear and polite. Finally, let's talk about one of the most powerful ways to improve your English practice. The more you practice speaking and listening to English, the more confident you'll become. You don't have to be perfect. What matters most is that you're putting yourself out there, engaging in conversations, and making progress every day. The more you practice with real-life situations, the easier it will be to speak naturally and understand others.